Shalom. So I know that I said that this season of the podcast is going to be about practically applying the word of Yahuwah to our lives. And it still is, but, we are supposed to yield to Ruach HaKodesh whenever he is moving in and through us. And so this particular episode is going to be a revelation. It's going to be a revelation that was given to me based off of a question that a brother in Ak had asked me about a week or two ago. All right. And I'm just going to leave it there. So let's get into it. So I had mentioned that this revelation came based off of a question that an Ak had asked me. So I'll just give you a brief little synopsis of the conversation that went down, and then I'll get into the revelation that Ruach HaKodesh gave me. All right. So the Ak, I had actually mentioned to the Ak a revelation that Ak means brother, by the way, for those that don't know. I had mentioned a revelation that Ruach HaKodesh gave me probably about a few months ago about Aaron and his sons representing the angels in heaven. And Ruach HaKodesh, when he gave it to me, he reminded me of Matthew 6:10, where it says, "Your will be done on earth as it is in the Shamayim." And it prompted me, like when I was saying it to the Ak, he asked me, well, where are you getting that from? Which, by the way, hallelujah for that, because you should always ask that question when someone is bringing you something that you're not really sure about. So anyway, I knew that it was some scriptures in Revelation, but I just couldn't remember where they were. And I wound up finding one, but it wasn't the one I was looking for. So I started sitting down and doing like a little study, and that's when I heard Ruach HaKodesh mention to me about the tabernacle of assembly and how the furniture that was in there, like everything represents something. Yahuwah doesn't just do anything happenstance. He always has a meaning for what he does. There's always a reason that he has certain things being done. And I want to say that there was even a mention to, he even mentioned to Moshe that the tabernacle was based off of his throne room in the Shamayim, which I actually have studied that out, but that's not going to be the focus of this. Perhaps one day I will circle back and do an episode on just that. But for right now, I want to talk to you about the table that's in the ark. Not in the ark, I apologize, in the tabernacle of assembly that has the showbread sitting on it, okay? I'm going to go ahead and read to you Shemath, or Exodus 25, verses 23 to 30. And this is where Moshe receives the instructions about how to build this table that is supposed to be the place where the showbread sits, okay? So it says, "You shall make a table of shittim wood. 2 cubits shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, and make thereto a crown of gold round about. And you shall make unto it a border of a handbreadth round about. And you shall make a golden crown to the border thereof round about. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are on the 4 feet thereof. Over against the border shall the rings be for places of the staves to bear the table. And you shall make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, that the table may be borne with them. And you shall make the dishes thereof, and spoons thereof, and covers thereof, and bowls thereof, to cover withal. Of pure gold shall you make them, and you shall set them upon the table. And you shall set upon the table showbread before me always." So that's where I wanted to stop, okay? So the showbread sits on the table, okay? So another place where you can go find the law for the showbread is in Leviticus or Vayikra 24, 1-9. I think that I might have I think I do have that written down, so we'll go there in just a second. But it was kind of like, okay, there's a table and it's got all this, it's got the showbread on it, and then it's got bowls, spoons, and dishes, you know what I'm saying? And that makes sense because, when we sit down to eat, those are the things that we put on the table. And utensils, that is the word that I was looking for, that I just could not pull up into my into my memory. Utensils, got all these utensils on the table along with something to eat, showbread. All right. So then Ruach HaKodesh took me to Psalms or Talmadym 23 and 5. And y'all are probably very familiar with this one, okay? You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. So I was like, But I'm going to circle back to that one as well. So he said that we are the showbread that sits on the table. And this is where Leviticus 24 comes into play. So again, Vayikra, Leviticus 24, 1-9 says, And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Command the children of Yasharal that they bring unto you pure olive oil beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually, without the veil of the testimony, in the tabernacle of the assembly. Shall Aaron order it from the evening unto the morning before Yahuwah continually. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. He shall order the lamps upon the pure menorah before Yahuwah continually. And you shall take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2/10 deals shall be in one cake, and you shall set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row, upon the pure table before Yahuwah, and you shall put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. Every Shabbat he shall set it in order before Yahuwah continually, being taken from the children of Yasharal by an everlasting covenant, and it shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in the holy place, for it is most holy unto him, of the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire, by a perpetual statute. Okay? So this table, it is the table that is referring to in Psalm 23 and 5. So the showbread, notice that it's 12 cakes and it's 2 rows of 6, and it has frankincense oil that is supposed to be put on top of it. So I'm just going to tell you exactly what Ruach HaKodesh said to me, okay? And I apologize, I did not look up this scripture, so please, by all means, it's somewhere in the epistles. Please go look it up on your own, but it references Yahusha as the high priest, right? So that comes into play. So we are the showbread. The 12 tribes of Yasharal are the showbread. And at first, I originally thought it was the apostles, which that can be applied, but overall, it is Yasharal, the 12 tribes of Yasharal, the showbread, okay? So I honed in on verse 7 and 8, and you shall put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. So I'm going to stop right there. Because back to Psalm 23 and 5, it says, you prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. So we know that's the table in the tabernacle of the assembly. And then he says, you anoint my head with oil. That's not a coincidence. That is not a coincidence, you guys. So I actually was led to look up the possible benefits of frankincense oil. It says it fights cancer, improves asthma, reduces arthritis, helps maintain oral health, improves stomach functions. So digestion, it helps you to eat and digest better, which we are supposed to be clean animals that eat and digest the word of Yahuwah. Okay, so it fights cancer. So leprosy can be considered a form of cancer. So it fights off sicknesses and it improves asthma. I wish I could say that I had some type of high-level revelation for that. I don't, you guys. So I'm sure it means something. I just don't know what it is, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. But overall, what I got from it is it's healing. Okay, so the frankincense oil on the 12 cakes, so 12 cakes represent the 12 tribes of Yasharal, are meant for healing. So he's talking about the healing of Yasharal. And we are the showbread. Okay, so showbread is like a ceremonial type of bread. It's meant to be on display before the altar. Okay. And then verse 8 says, every Shabbat he shall set it in order. He being the high priest shall set it in order before Yahuwah continually being taken from the children of Yasharal by an everlasting covenant. So every Shabbat. So this is revealing to us the function of Shabbat. This is the reason why it can't be whenever we say it is. Like some people want to say, oh, your Shabbat could be on this day. Your Shabbat could be on that day. Shabbat is the seventh day. When you make a doctor's appointment and the doctor says come in on this day, you don't come in on the day before, the day after, because they're going to tell you, you don't have an appointment, come back. We can reschedule and you can come back on the day of your appointment. Because a lot of times they're going to be busy. Yeah, I know there's walk-ins. That's not your doctor. That's just some random person that has a doctor's degree, a doctorate, and you can go see them whenever you need to. But I'm talking about your personal doctor, okay? The one that you know by name, who knows you by name. You show up on the day that you're supposed to. But it also made me think of a conversation that Yahusha had, I want to say with the Parashim. I'm going to read it to you right now. This is Mark 2, verses 23 to 28. And it says, and it came to pass that he went through the fields on the Shabbat, and his Talmadym, so he being Yahusha, and his Talmadym, or his disciples, began, and they went to pluck the heads of grain. And the Parashim, Pharisees, said unto him, behold, why do they on the Shabbat that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, because it was, you know what, I'm going to leave it right there. What is not lawful? And he said unto them, have you never read what David did when he had need and was hungry, he and they that were with him, how he went into the house of Yahuwah in the days of Abiathar, I can never pronounce this guy's name, you guys, the high priest, and did eat the showbread of which it is not lawful to eat but for the priests, and gave also to them which were with him. And he said unto them, the Shabbat was made for man, and not man for the Shabbat. Therefore Yahuwah is the son of Adam, and the Shabbat. Yahuwah is the Shabbat, first and foremost. So he's healing Yasharal. But also the day itself is for healing Yasharal. Because the name of the seventh day is Shabbat. So I just want to put that out there, okay? Real quick, just to correct myself, Yahusha is the son of Adam and the Shabbat. Yahusha is the Shabbat, not Yahuwah. Yahuwah is the father. Yahusha is the son. My bad, you guys. And again, it says, every Shabbat he shall set it in order. So when he says every Shabbat, he's letting you know that this is talking about a specific time period. He, being the high priest, Yahusha is the high priest, shall set it in order before Yahuwah, continually being taken from the children of Yasharal by an everlasting covenant. This is a sign of your covenant with Yahuwah Zaba'oth. Without it, you do not have covenant with him. It is a sign of your covenant. See what I'm saying? Just like in Babylon, when a man and a woman get married, they put rings on their finger as a sign of their covenant with each other. So when they go out and their spouse isn't with them, other people can see with their physical eyes that this person is in covenant with another individual. So this is our sign of our covenant with our Father, Yahuwah Zaba'oth. I also want to read to you Yehukanan, John 5, 1-16, just because it just, it's another witness to what it is I'm saying. So it says, After this, there was a feast of the Yahudim, which is Jews for those who don't know. And Yahusha went up to Yerushalayim. Now there is at Yerushalayim by the sheep market a pool which is called in the Ivrit or Abaryath tongue Bet Hesed. Abaryath is just Hebrew. It just means Hebrew. That's how you actually pronounce it in the ancient or Paleo Hebrew. Having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. So this is a servant of Yahuwah, an angel, going down and troubling the water so that somebody can be healed. But it's only one person that gets healed at a time. Okay? Went down at a certain season. So it was only a certain time that this pool got stirred by this angel so somebody could be healed. Whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years, which 38 years. When Yahusha saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said unto him, Will you be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steps down before me. Yahusha said unto him, Rise, take up your bed and walk. And immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Shabbat. So he healed the man on the Sabbath, which is the day of healing. The Yahudim therefore said unto him, and notice it was Yahusha who is healing. He is the Shabbat. I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but yeah, the showbread, that's the 12 tribes and everybody that's part of the 12 tribes. And then the frankincense is put on top of it for healing. On this day, Yahusha is the Shabbat. The Yahudim therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Shabbat. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed. He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up your bed and walk. Then asked they him, What man is it that said unto you, Take up your bed and walk? And he that was healed knew not who it was, for Yahusha had conveyed himself away, a multitude being in that place. Afterward Yahusha finds him in the temple and says unto him, Behold, you are made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto you. The man departed and told the Yahudim that it was Yahusha which made him whole. And therefore did the Yahudim persecute Yahusha and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on Shabbat. So how dare Yahusha heal someone on the day of healing? That's what the rest that we're supposed to take does for us. It heals us. When our bodies are able to properly rest, they can start to heal. And it's not just resting as in sleeping. It's resting from any type of work. And you get in the presence of your King and you worship him. And when you do so, healing is the result. He heals you, mind, body, spirit, soul. I thought this was so beautiful. So going back to Psalm 23:5, you prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. We got to understand there is nothing that Yahuwah does. And I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. There's nothing that Yahuwah does just because. He's always doing it for a reason. And going back to Matthew 6:10, your will be done on earth as it is in the Shamayim. So I am going to go ahead and back it up just a little bit because, it needs to be backed up a little bit. So I'm going to go back to Exodus 25 and I'm going to read verse 16. It says, And you, this is Yahuwah talking to Moshe, and you shall put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you. Go to Revelation 15:5, and it says, And after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was opened. So prayerfully, you're starting to see the parallels, because There's nothing new under the sun, and Yahuwah does everything with a purpose and a reason. There's a reason why Yahusha instructed his disciples to pray, your will be done on earth as it is in the Shamayim, or heavens is what Shamayim means, as it is in the heavens. Because everything that we're doing down here is a reflection of what's going on up there. That's the reason why we said the beginning of that is, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in the Shamayim, right? Your kingdom come. So when we operate in these manners, when he tells us to do certain things, when we start to know why it is that he had Moshe do this, he had the high priest and his sons do this, why he had Yasharal doing these things, when we start to know that and we start to move and function in that, then Yahuwah's kingdom is come. Right? All right, let's keep it moving. So Bamidbar, or Numbers 3:5-10, says, and Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, bring the tribe of Levi near, and present them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister unto him. And they shall guard his watch, and the watch of the whole assembly before the tabernacle of the assembly, to do the service of the tabernacle, to do the service of the tabernacle, to do the service of the tabernacle. That's exactly what the angels that are in the Shamayim are doing. I'm sorry. The Kodesh, the set apart angels, the ones that haven't fallen, that are in the heavens, that is exactly what they're doing. They're doing the service of the temple of Yahuwah that is in the Shamayim, right? Following me? I hope you are. And they shall guard all the instruments of the tabernacle of the assembly, and the charge of the children of Yasharal to do the service of the tabernacle. Let me read that again. And they shall guard all the instruments of the tabernacle of the assembly, and the charge of the children of Yasharal to do the service of the tabernacle. So, with that being said, they're guarding us, and we are the showbread that's inside of the tabernacle. So they're guarding us, and they're guarding all the rest of the instruments. And you shall give the Levites unto Aaron and to his sons. They are wholly given unto him out of the children of Yasharal. And you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall guard their priest's office. And the stranger that comes nigh shall be put to death. So nobody can do this other than a Levite. Nobody can do this other than a Levite. That's it. And there's a reason. So I always talk to people about there being different classes of angels. None of the angels have the same function. We know this because none of the fallen angels have the same function. The fallen angels, when they fell, you never read about Yahuwah taking their power from them. They just took what Yahuwah gave them and perverted for their own pleasures. So Hasatan is still out here inspiring people to make music, but the music is unto him and not unto Yahuwah. You feel where I'm going with this? So he's still doing the same things, but for himself and not for Yahuwah. With that being said, you have the angels that were guarding over the, they're represented on the mercy seat. Is two cherubim or cherubs that are guarding the mercy seat, which is supposed to represent Yahuwah's throne. You also have the angel that was guarding the entrance back into the Garden of Eden when Adam and Hawa were kicked out. You have Michael and Gabriel, who are archangels. Well, I know Michael's an archangel. I don't know if it specifically said that Gabriel is an archangel, but we do understand that he's at least a messenger angel, because he was the one that came to bring Daniel an answer from Yahuwah from the throne, right? And I mean, that sounds to me like a prophet. I'm just saying. I pray that you guys are starting to see how Yahuwah has this so amazingly laid out. Then you have the angels that are before Yahuwah's throne that day and night, they're constantly crying out, Kodesh, 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 which is saying that Babylon says holy, but Kodesh means set apart. So they're constantly saying this to him day and night, day and night, day and night. You can see the angels that are, during the end times that are in charge of pouring out the bowls or blowing the trumpets or breaking the seals. So we know that there's different classes of angels. So it makes sense that there's a priesthood that carries out different functions. And only the high priest is the one that can go into the throne room and carry out the atoning for the atoning of the sins for the entire assembly of Yasharal. So I'm going to keep it moving. I don't want to get stuck right there, but I just wanted to just bring some of these things out. Always pray on the things that I say, because I don't know everything and I could hear wrong at some point in time. I usually try to go to Yahuwah and make sure that what's coming out of my mouth is what he wants me to say. Also, that's the reason why I usually have a whole bunch of scripture, because these people, the authors of these books are what we would call witnesses. So you're supposed to bring 2 and 3 witnesses with you to make something true. So I'm going back and forth between the different books, because I want you to see that there is a parallel. I'm not just talking out the side of my neck. Okay. So hop on over to Shemath, or Exodus 4, verse 16. And he shall be your spokesman unto the people, and he shall be to you instead of a mouth, and you shall be to him instead of Yahuwah, or Elua, and you shall take this rod in your hand, wherewith you shall do signs. So this is Yahuwah talking to Moshe. This is after Moshe was like, I can't go, I got a stutter and all this other stuff. And Yahuwah was like, well, take Aaron with you, and I'm still going to speak to you, but he's going to be like your prophet, basically. And you're going to be like me to him. So he's letting you know, like, you're going to be like me and Aaron's going to be like a prophet. But you remember what I said about Gabriel and how he functions like a prophet. So now we're starting to see the function of a prophet. So this is the reason why we're not out here fortune telling, because that's not the function of a prophet. All right. Exodus 7, 1 and 2 says, and Yahuwah said unto Moshe, see, I have made you an Elohim to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he sends the children of Yasharal out of his land. I just wanted to read that to you to qualify what I just said. So going back to Numbers, we're going to go to chapter 8, verses 14 and 19. Thus shall you separate the Levites from among the children of Yasharal, and the Levites shall be mine. And after that, the Levites go in to do the service of the tabernacle of the assembly, and you shall cleanse them and offer them for an offering. Present you therefore your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Yahuwah, which is your reasonable service. Does that sound familiar? Okay. For they are wholly given unto me from among the children of Yasharal, instead of such as open every womb, even instead of the firstborn of all the children of Yasharal, have I taken them unto me. For all the firstborn of the children of Yasharal are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, I sanctified them for myself. And I have taken the Levites for all the firstborn of the children of Yasharal, and I have given the Levite as a gift to Aaron and to his sons from among the children of Yasharal, to do the service of the children of Yasharal in the tabernacle of the assembly, and to make an atonement for the children of Yasharal, that there be no plague among the children of Yasharal when the children of Yasharal come nigh unto the sanctuary. So that there be no plague on the children of Yasharal when the children of Yasharal come close, that's what nigh, come near to the sanctuary. So basically, he's healing us. The Levites are meant to heal. They're meant to do the service of the tabernacle, which is meant to bring about healing. So can you again see Yahusha and the angels working in the Shamayim for our healing? You see what I'm saying? And we know that Yahusha commands the armies of angels because, he's Yahusha. He's the King of Kings, Master of Masters. We know this. Prayerfully, you know this. This also speaks to why he had to come down here as well, on earth as it is in the Shamayim. He had to set up that kingdom down here to reflect what's going on up there so that Yahuwah's kingdom reigns as dominant in both areas. Hallelujah. All right, so Leviticus 10 and 11 says, and that they may teach the children of Yasharal all the statutes which Yahuwah has spoken unto them by the hand of Moshe. So let me go back up. I'll start at verse 8. And Yahuwah spoke unto Aaron, saying, do not drink wine nor strong drink, you nor your sons with you. So this is the Levitical priesthood that he's talking about now. When you go into the tabernacle of the assembly, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, and that you may put difference between holy and unholy, and between clean and clean. So he's talking about discernment. You have to discern with righteous judgment between clean and unclean, holy and unholy. And that you may teach the children of Yasharal all the statutes which Yahuwah has spoken unto them by the hand of Moshe. So you have to teach them the statutes in order for them to walk in the statutes, because obedience unto Yahuwah is what heals us. It's what keeps us walking in his righteousness. It's basically what keeps the enemy from having access to us. And on top of it, us meeting with Yahuwah, the doctor, every Shabbat, and having the oil poured upon our heads, the oil of healing. All right, Dabarim, Deuteronomy 33, 8-11. And of Levi he said, let your Tumim and your Urim be with your Hasid, whom you did prove at Massa, and with whom you did strive at the waters of Meribah. All right, so first and foremost, Hasid is merciful or saints. So depends on the context of it, and this is just a surface of what this means. If you go and you study it out, it probably means something way more deeper and relevant. But the abstract of it, it means saints. Now, the Tumim and the Urim, those are two stones that were placed in the breastplate of the high priest's garments, and it was used for discernment. Basically to cast lots. And supposedly, I don't know if this part is true or not, but supposedly one of them was supposed to light up, and whichever one lit up, that was the one, which I can see it happening because, Yahuwah has done way bigger than that. So whichever one lit up, that was what Yahuwah wanted them to do. And that's how they would use righteous judgment or discernment back in the day without Ruach HaKodesh indwelling them. Verse 9, who said unto his father and to his mother, I have not seen him, neither did he acknowledge his brethren, nor knew his own children, for they have guarded your word and kept your covenant. They shall teach Jacob your judgments and Yasharal your Torah. So they're teaching Jacob Yahuwah's judgments and Israel his law. They shall put incense before you and whole ascending smoke sacrifice upon your altar. Bless Yahuwah his substance and accept the work of his hands. Smite through the loins of them that rise against him and of them that hate him, that they rise not again. If you can venture with me to Revelation chapter 8, verses 3-5 real quick. Actually, I'll read 1-5. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour, I apologize, so 30 minutes. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before Yahuwah, and to them were given 7 shofars. That's a trumpet for those that don't know, or a horn for those that don't know. And another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense. So remember, we just read about the incense, right? There was given unto this angel much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of the Kodashim, of all the Kodashim, that's the saints, upon the golden altar which was before the throne. Upon the golden altar. So remember, all the instruments, all the utensils, everything that was in the tabernacle of the assembly was pure gold. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the Kodashim, ascended up before Yahuwah out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the 7 angels which had the 7 shofars prepared themselves to sound. I read down to verse 6. Okay. So just going back to Dabarim 33, it says, they shall teach Jacob your judgments and Yasharal your Torah. They shall put incense before you and whole ascended smoke sacrifice upon your altar. And then you go back and you look at Revelation 8, and it talks about this angel, right? And another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer. So the incense that they're talking about are not like the incense that you buy at like the corner store, the convenience store in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Those are not the incense they're talking about. It's actually this golden circular vessel that it holds like this little coal piece, right? And on top of the coal piece, there's this mesh, I don't know what you would call it, but you put the resin from whatever it is that you're trying to, let's say it's frankincense. You put the frankincense or you put the myrrh resin on the top of the mesh piece. And of course you heat the piece of coal up, and the heated coal then begins to cause the smell to come off of the resin, and it creates a lot of smoke. You guys, I have one of these because I wanted to see what it was like, and I had to open up almost all the windows in my house because that's like my fire alarm was just like going crazy. Like, what are you doing? My house was smoky. So these things produce a ton, and it was just a little tiny charcoal disc. So I can imagine the full size, how much smoke it probably puts off. And it's meant to cover the mercy seat because the high priest, when they go in to make atonement for the children of Yasharal, is not supposed to look upon the mercy seat, which is where the presence of Yahuwah is supposed to be, unless they die. And this is what Yahuwah said, right? So it's meant to create an enormous amount of smoke. So going back, and another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all Kodashim upon the golden altar which was before the throne. So compare that to what I read in Deuteronomy 33, 8-11. I don't remember the exact verse, but it talks about the incense. Like, this is a parallel. He's showing us that it's a parallel. It is a parallel. The function of the Levitical priesthood looks just like the angels that are in the temple, in Yahuwah's temple, okay? And I'm going to read something to you real quick. Revelation 15, because there are certain angels that I personally believe, based off of what I've been reading, that weren't allowed in the temple to do service in the temple. Just like the Levitical priesthood were only the ones that were allowed to do the service in the tabernacle of the assembly. So let me see. Where should I start? I'm going to start in verse 5. And I'm going to go down to the end. This is Revelation chapter 15. And after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was open. And the 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girded with golden belts. And one of the 4 living creatures gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of Yahuwah, who lives forever and ever. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of Yahuwah and from his power. And no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. So these angels, these Levites, they represent a certain class of angels that are currently in the Shamayim, handling the same type, spiritually handling the same tasks that the Levites were handling back in the tabernacle of the assembly for Yasharal. Again, I hope all this is making sense. I'm just going to go back to, and I'm going to read, I would just recommend you read the entire chapter of Revelation chapter 16. I'm not going to read the entire chapter, but I'm going to go back to Revelation 10. I'm going to read 1-8, and then I'm going to go to 11 and read 1-2, and then verse 19 and 11. So 1-8 in Revelation 10 says, and I saw another And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little safer, or a book, open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roars. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. 7 thunders uttered their voices. So it's possible that these are the 7 angels that are ready to pour out the wrath of Yahuwah. I don't think that's a coincidence, but we're not going to jump to any conclusions, okay? And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swore by him that lives forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things that are therein, that there should be time no longer, but in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Yahuwah should be finished, as he has declared to his servants the prophets. There's a reason why he calls the prophets servants. Just want to say that. And the voice which I heard from heaven spoke unto me again and said, go and take the little safer, which is open in the hand of the angel, which stands upon the sea and upon the earth. And then verses 1-2 of chapter 11 says, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of Yahuwah and the altar and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the other nations, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot for 40 and 2 months. And then I'm going to skip down to verse 19. And the temple of Yahuwah was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his covenant, which was also, mind you, in the tabernacle of the assembly. The ark of the covenant was also in the tabernacle of the assembly. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. So I just read those because I wanted you to see that there is a temple in heaven. I didn't want you to think that this is something I'm just making up. And please understand, as many times as I've read this in the past, I didn't pay too much attention to the fact that there is a temple in heaven, a temple of Yahuwah in heaven. So I just want y'all to understand, like, on earth as it is in the Shamayim, okay? And we're actually going to venture back to Exodus 25, and I'm going to read verses 1-9. And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Yasharah that they bring me an offering of every man that gives it willingly with his heart. You shall take my offerings. And this is the offering which you shall take of them, gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet, and fine linen and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and antelope skins, and shittim wood, oil for the light, spices for anointing oil, and for sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod, that is the garment of the high priest, and in the breastplate. And let them make a sanctuary that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show you, after the pattern of the tabernacle. So after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall you make it. So before this point, there was no tabernacle. So what does it mean after the pattern of the tabernacle? Because you remember, Moshe is being given the instructions on how to build the tabernacle around this point in time, and how to I don't want to say decorate it, but I guess that's the best word I can come up with right now. How to decorate it, how to set up the furniture and all the instruments and vessels and whatnot that are inside. So he's giving those instructions now. So according to all that I show you after the pattern of the tabernacle, he's talking about his current temple, where his throne is in the Shamayim. You know what? I'll go ahead and read verses 10-30 because it's very interesting. Well, I won't read all the way down to 30 because I already read about the table. But I'll tell you where I stop. And they shall make an ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And you shall overlay it with pure gold within and without shall you overlay it, and shall make upon it a crown of gold round about, and you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners thereof, and 2 rings shall be in the one side of it, and 2 rings in the other side of it. And you shall make staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and you should put the staves unto the rings by the sides of the ark, that the ark may be borne with them. The staves shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I shall give you, and you shall make a mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And you shall make 2 cherubim or cherubs of gold, of beaten work shall you make them, in the 2 ends of the mercy seat, and make 1 cherub or cherub on the one end, and the other cherub on the other end. Even of the mercy seat shall you make the cherubim on the 2 ends thereof. And the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another. Toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubim be. And you shall put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I shall give you. And in the ark you should put the testimony that I shall give you. And there I will meet with you, and I will commune with you from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim, which are upon the ark of the testimony of all things, which I will give you in commandment unto the children of Yasharal. All right, so I'm going to stop there. That's verse 22, and then verses 23 to 30 go into the table, in which we already talked about. And I just for a second, I also want to go, because I didn't really remind myself why I wrote these things down. I just wrote like chapters and verses and stuff and books that need to be referenced. So I think this is just referencing Yahuwah's throne. So I'll read this. It's Revelation chapter 4. It's a short chapter. It's 11 verses. After this, I looked, and behold, a gate was opening in the heavens, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a shofar talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show you things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Ruach, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne, and he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 menorahs of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 ruachoth or spirits of Yahuwah. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal, and in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 living creatures full of eyes before and behind. And the first living creature was like a lion, and the second living creature like a calf, and the third living creature had a face as a man, and the 4th living creature was like a flying eagle, and the 4 living creatures had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Kodesh, 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 Yahuwah, Alua, Zaba'o, which was and is to come. And when those living creatures give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne and worship him that lives forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, O Yahuwah, Alua, to receive glory and honor and power, for you have created all things, and for your pleasure they are and were created. I am actually going to stop right there. I just want to say we are the 3rd temple. That's scriptural. I can't remember the scripture. Look it up. You can find it. I have confidence in you. But I said all that to say, I'm really bad at explaining things. I understand, but prayerfully I explained it in a way that you understand. I just wanted you to see or at least Yahuwah wants you to see the parallel between what we do and how we function down here versus what the angels do and how they function up there, as well as Yahusha. Because, Yahusha is not dead. He is alive and well, seated at the right hand of the Father as the high priest, interceding on our behalf day and night. You see what I'm saying? So he's constantly before him making atonement for us. It's not a once a year type of thing like it was when Aaron or his sons were the high priests. It's constantly. Hallelujah for that. But also, just looking at the different functions of the angels and seeing how it parallels with the different functions of the Levites, because not all of them were meant to be high priests. If I'm not mistaken, they had to be either Aaron or one of his sons or his son's sons, this, that, and the other. So not all of the Levitical priesthood was allowed to be high priests. It had to be from a specific bloodline of the Levites. And again, I am really bad about not looking up certain things. This is because these are things that Ruach HaKodesh is having me to say right here on the fly. So I didn't look up the scriptures, but I mean, you need to do it on your own anyway. So just go ahead and look that up as well. Yeah. So the table that Yahuwah has set before our enemies is the table that houses the showbread, which is us. We're on the table. We're not supposed to eat from the table. We're on the table. And then the oil that he anoints our heads with is that frankincense oil that's supposed to be poured out on top of the showbread. And it's for healing. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And I encourage you, because there's more that he's been showing me. This is just what I have so far. But, whenever he tells me to, whenever he releases me to, I will have another episode with more of this. We're still going to be talking about practical application because that's also necessary, because none of this stuff that I just spoke about on this episode means anything if you don't know how to practically apply it to your life. So, hallelujah for his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And all you're getting, get understanding. That's what he tells us, right? All right, I'm going to stop it right there. If you would like to get in contact with me, you can reach me at replenishme@gmail.com, RIPLENISHME@gmail.com. As always, it was a pleasure being here with you. Much ahava and shalom. Selah.